Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Bhagavate
Om Namo Bhagavate
Vaivasvataya Mrityave
Vaivasvataya Mrityave
Brahma Vidyacharyaya
Brahma Vidyacharyaya
Nachiketa Secha
Nachiketa Secha.
The doubt centered on the self. Meaning what? Am I happy or am I not? Am I sad or am I bad? Or am I really mad? These are the doubts. There are all these jokes aside, the doubts are always in the form of a dyad. Happy, sad. Calm, restless. Knowledgeable, ignorant. There are always these opposing dyads that make up the basis of the doubt. As soon as I say, yay, I know this, immediately I'm confronted with something I do not know. Yes, I'm happy. Well, except for this or this. Yes, I'm angry, but no, the same thing at a different situation doesn't make me angry. Sometimes the day is going well and you greet the day for some reason. Because of Bhagavan's blessings, the day is going extremely well. That's what we have to say at this point. And one greets the day with audaryam, a largesse. And then, somebody does something that would have normally ticked you off in a royal way. But then you say, it's okay. Yeah, you play Bhagavan. You become God in that moment because one becomes so compassionate. Where did this come from? And then you just get mad just so that the other person doesn't get ideas that you're like this all the time. You pretend to get mad to just tell them that, this time it's okay, but next time don't do this. Just so that you make sure that, they don't get used to it. But inside you're surprised. Where did this compassion get dredged out of? Normally, this fellow gets ticked off at everything. Yeah. Always tick, 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 tick. Ticking off, ticking off, ticking off. Upset, angry, intolerant, impatient, mad. And then suddenly, it's okay. If the compassion is not there, it cannot come out of nowhere. No, it is there. Yeah, but where is it? It's hard to find. So compassion is random. It is also without conditions. That's why we call it compassion. Otherwise it will be a kind of we wouldn't call it compassion. We would call it reciprocity. I scratch your back in the hopes that you will scratch mine at a later date. This is reciprocity. So if you are compassionate towards somebody hoping that they will be nice to you, that's not compassion. Compassion has to be without condition. It is something that emerges. Without condition means it doesn't have limits. That's what. Because the space is a condition, time is a condition, So these two conditions are not there, for which is called compassion. And I am able to command it almost by grace, without even by design, without even wanting to be compassionate. I become compassionate, or I find that I can react compassionately to some rare situations at some rare moments of grace. So if compassion is unconditional, then it should be there at all times, in all places, correct? But it is not, because my own experience is that of this unconditional compassion becoming conditioned by mood, by space, by time. This compassion, which is supposedly unconditional, which I can recognize as such, is what? Is constantly under assault by factors that constrict. If I use a little bit, extend my thinking, my logic, what are the factors that constrict? Space and time. Because sometimes I'm able to be compassionate, other times I'm not able to be compassionate. In sleep, one is the embodiment of compassion. Yeah. No matter what anyone does to you, nobody even knows. Somebody lifts the hand, okay. Somebody moves you over 3 blocks, okay. One is very accommodating, which is what compassion is. It's about accommodation, not having which creates problems. And so this doubt that how come this compassion is a going and coming compassion, most of the time passion, sometimes the compassion. Yeah, it seems to come and go, that's why it's called compassion. Actually should be called go passion. So what is this trick? What is this thing that this unconditional compassion, this is where I have to use the brains, which we talked about yesterday, the brain cells that have been given by Bhagavan. And this human birth that has been given by Bhagavan has to be used for this kind of an analysis which one is capable of. That if this unconditional compassion is constricted by time and space, then you cannot call it unconditional. Okay, let it be conditional. Are you happy with compassion being conditional? No. Why? Because I want other people to be unconditionally compassionate towards me. This is what dharma is. These are the beginnings of the stirrings of dharma. That's why dharma becomes the first thing to pursue. Nobody pursues dharma directly. Nobody is that much out of their mind. Nobody says, I want my life to revolve around dharma. Nobody is that compassionate in the beginning. Then how come dharma is the first pursuit? Because I want it to be the first, I want people to be dharmic towards me. I want dharma towards me to be other people's first priority. And the foundation of dharma is compassion, really. That truth of oneself, which is compassion, is alone the foundation for dharma. Because I am able to let go, I am able to accommodate. I am able to be accommodative even when the other person is not. This is dharma. Nobody wants dharma directly. Who wants to be accommodative? See, no one raised their hand. And so, but who wants everybody to be accommodative towards them? Yes, see, that's what it is. This is why it's the first pursuit. Because how do I get people to follow what is correct, to follow, accommodation, to follow acts of kindness, to follow the heart which is naturally accommodative? How do I get other people to do that? Can I enforce this? No, you can enforce speed. 65. It has to be repeatedly enforced. Because between 2 signs, one has already started to speed. That's why the signs have to keep coming. You can enforce the speed limit. You can give somebody a ticket. The cop can. But what you cannot enforce is the actual being on the road with other cars. Somebody seems to be in a hurry. They are dodging lanes and, going without a sense of either themselves or other people on the road. What do you do? What should you do at this point? Of course, it's a choiceless choice. You become accommodative, you hang back. Partly it's out of self-interest, but even if you are not really under attack, you hang back, you give them space, and you also give them the benefit of doubt. Maybe they are in a rush. Maybe they need to go, they are late for something. Maybe they need to reach before me. Let them dodge and get ahead of the signal. Let them go. Or in the highway, just hang back, allow them to go. You don't always make it a contest. Oh, they speeded in front of me, I'm going to speed now. You don't do that. This cannot be enforced. You do this, why? Because you want other people to do this when you are rushed and you are late for something that you really wanted to go to, or you need to go to the hospital, somebody is driving you. And what do you hope for? That other people will miraculously make the roads empty so that you can get to your destination. This is what is dharma. And this dharma is the foundation brick of compassion. And dharma is cultivated so that I can resonate with that which already is a possibility. The foundation for this dharma being compassion, the foundation comes to the fore when I act in dharmic ways, when I make dharma a priority. This is what the whole thing is. So the doubt that is centered on this I, whether I am compassionate or not, whether I am accommodative or not, and of course the one who is compassionate, which is unconditional, is not conditioned by sadness, that only when I am sad it's not dependent on mood. When I am sad, I am not compassionate. When I am bad, I am certainly not compassionate. When I am mad, forget it. Only when I am happy, I am compassionate. The mood cannot be a conditioner. So if I am capable of compassion, which I know myself to be capable of, the desire is to grow into an accommodative person who is all the time accommodative, all the time compassionate. That's why stories of Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King and all these other saints attract. What attracts is that they were able to do something which appears to be out of the ordinary, that I am not capable of. I don't seem to be capable of. Stories of Jesus offering the other cheek or acting compassionately even when people were, hanging him on the cross. These are all stories that attract, or even of so many saints in other traditions. In the Hindu tradition, we have so many saints. And the saints' lives, if you look at their early lives, it was not a picnic. It was not some, let us all go and enjoy some food in the garden. It was not that kind of a life. Every saint had a very hard life. Somebody asked me this question. Why is it that all the saints had such hard early lives? I said, that's not the question. I said, it should be looked at the other way. Is that some people are able to process the hurts in such a way that the hurts make them saintly. That is the best way to grow. These are the people who have made it in terms of compassion, and they attract me. Their stories attract and inspire me because secretly I want to be like them. Even though I will not admit sometimes that I want to be compassionate at all times, because I don't think it's a possibility in this competitive market of ideas and contesting, experiences and rat eat rat world, dog eat cat world. this kind of a world where I have to compete. I will not admit that this is what I want to be, because I feel like this is not in keeping with my artha kama pursuits. Pursuits for security and pleasure seem to be askance with dharma. But yet, dharma, the doing the right thing at all times, in all places, cultivating that habit is the first pursuit in the Vedic tradition. So this gives a clue as to how to discover that compassion, how to get ready to discover I am that compassion that I seek. That's the only possibility. You cannot say that unconditional compassion is conditioned by time, space, and above all by my moods. It doesn't make sense. And you cannot say this unconditional compassion is somewhere hiding in some other heart and then miraculously it migrates to my heart under the duress of some unexplained grace. It's not logical. And if that's the case, then I will not be attracted by compassion. I'll want to get rid of it because I'll be scared of it. Compassion is trying to knock on the door and I'm closing the door and drawing the blinds so that it doesn't know I'm at home. I don't do that. I like what I find. When I'm able to be accommodative, I'm naturally happy. Even though I tell the other person, I tell the significant other, don't get ideas. Today I was compassionate and I did a few extra things for you. But don't get ideas that tomorrow I'm going to be like this. I'm going to be back to my crabby mood that you know so well. You say that for good measure. Because again, that fear, that insecurity is eclipsing the compassion. This you see very clearly. Insecurity comes like Rahu, and the sun of compassion hides, poor thing, behind this eclipse. What is Rahu? Shadow planet. Yeah. And then the fear comes because of the insecurity. So sadness comes. Sadness is Ketu. Yeah. So it comes at the tail end of the story. Ketu is all tail. Rahu is all head. So this is the head and tail of fear and sorrow. They are just shadows that eclipse. They don't have a reality. They are shadows that eclipse the self. The compassionate, giving, loving, accommodative self. Then what's the difference between me and the Mother Upanishad? Yesterday we talked about Mother Upanishad. The Mother Upanishad is compassionate, loving. Like I said, she is the only mother that mothers without othering or smothering. She's a functional mother. And she is compassionate enough to give me what I need, not always what I want. And we talked of the 3 stages of this embrace. First, the combative jiva, not wanting to discover the compassion. Then the dharmic jiva who relaxes in the embrace. And final stage is what? There is no difference between the embracer and the embraced. Why? Because that compassion is the truth of me, is the truth of the Mother Upanishad, is the truth of Bhagavan, who I seek to discover myself as, is the truth of the universe, is really all one, is the truth of that oneness. Because in compassion, in these acts of compassion, I discover that oneness. That's why it is so wonderful to be loving, to be accommodative. Because if I'm accommodative and everything is within me, then there is no separation. There is no anxiety. This is what one wants to be. This is what one wishes one was. This is what one strives to be. This is where one has to put one's effort to remove the eclipsing factors in the expression of this compassion is the work of the Upanishad. That is what the whole thing. And for this, certain background information or knowledge I need to have. to this end. First, I need to know that compassion is not manufactured, even though sometimes I fake it. I smile when I don't wish to smile. Why? Because the passerby who is meeting me on my walk is in a super good mood and insists on saying hello and introducing herself or himself and the dog which they are taking for a walk. Then I don't want to. I know, I'm just sort of throwing my mood at them. And it rains enough here without sharing my personal rain cloud. So what do? I force myself to smile. And then they will say, this is my dog. And this is its name. And the dog is also jumping all over you. As though you were, you were a Mahatma. And it can't have enough of you, despite your bad mood notwithstanding. So first you force yourself to smile, a castor oil smile. Smile of a person who has just ingested Karela or castor oil. Bitter. So it's a faked smile. And then something magical happens. Even in that fake smile, and there is an anger inside. Why this person had to come? I don't feel like smiling. Why this fellow is making me smile? And then you see the dog looks ridiculous. Yeah. It will certainly not win a beauty contest for dogs. It's all disproportionate. It looks like daddy long legs. The legs are too long. And the dog is itself kind of somewhere perched high above the legs. The dog is, chubby, but the legs are thin, and the tongue is rolling out on one side. The eyes are slightly crossed, and it is totally unaware of all the things. One ear is up, one ear is down, and the dog is blissfully unaware of how it looks. And it's so happy that it's infectious. Unbeknownst to yourself and not really wanting it, you catch the dog's happiness. And you find that the fake smile is no longer fake. You genuinely laugh. The other person laughs. And you go on your way, and then you find that you have to really work hard to get back into that bad mood. Sometimes you manage, but most of the times, another silly thing, the smile is infectious. Somebody else looks at you, and their personal rain cloud is banished by just looking at you, laughing, and remembering the antics of the dog. Like this. So how is that lopsided dog able to bring out this compassion? Because it is there. It is there. And this itself shows that faking it to make it is not a bad thing, because you're not really faking it. You're just asking it to be born prematurely, that's all. But it's not ready. Yeah. You're giving it a labor inducement. Sometimes when it's the labor is a very difficult labor for the mother to be, and she's going on, and the labor is continuing 18 hours, 24 hours. And so they give something to quicken things up. They give an injection to induce the labor, to quicken things up, so that the mother is, put out of this misery, of this pain for days together. So that forced smile, that laborious smile is... It's a little inducer, that's all it is. You're making the compassion show itself prematurely when it's not ready, that's all it is. That's the only way. Because if you wait for it to be ready, it will always be constantly hijacked by so many things that it will never come out. And so many lifetimes have already gone waiting for it to come out. So we help ourselves through acts of compassion. And this relatively compassionate heart, not the absolutely compassionate heart which has to be discovered through the teachings, but you can discover this occasionally compassionate heart with a commitment to discovery is what is needed as a background for this teaching. We need a relative readiness to be accommodative, a relative readiness to discover that compassion, a relative welcoming band that will play a nice tune whenever that compassion comes to encourage it. That is what is needed in terms of the building bricks of studenthood for this knowledge. This is part of the background of this knowledge. What is needed for this knowledge? Compassion, I told you, is built on the foundation, is the foundation brick for dharma, really. Or actually it should be the other way around. Dharma is the foundation brick for compassion, this compassion to be discovered. So the student has to follow a life of dharma if one is serious about the study of the Upanishad. That which removes the eclipsing of compassion. And what does that mean? That means that I have to cultivate in my life what is right, what is true. So in terms of speech, conduct, behavior, etc., I commit to righteousness. That is what is called going with the flow. Because otherwise what happens is that a person who is not committed to dharma, coming under the embrace of the teaching which is the mother, will never relax. Why? Because the embrace is all about dispelling duality. But a person who is not dharmic already has an inner duality. Because dharma is that inner voice, it's not enforced by religion. It's not even taught by religion. Religion only reiterates. It's anuvada. Religions only reiterate what is already sensed. Sensed in the human heart. So the person who is stealing knows this is wrong. Even though they may justify it and say, I'm like Robin Hood, and or they may say that, oh, this corporation, do you know how they exploit all the workers? Do you know this? Mall-mart. Do you know how they exploit these workers? And do you know that they just don't give them benefits? So what if I steal from them? It's okay to steal from them. Is it really okay to steal from them? Why does it matter what they are doing? But even the person who is going to the mall to steal, Mall-mart, what does the person do?
Locks his car.
Huh?
Locks his car. So
Yeah, first they lock their car so that nobody else steals his car. And then what does this fellow do? He doesn't go take it and walk out. If you are so brave, do that if you really think you are doing the right thing. No. First they buy a big trench coat. Even in the summer, that itself is suspicious. The store psychologists are trained just for that. Yeah, they're not stupid. They've studied. So everybody else is in tank tops and this fellow is in a trench coat. This itself is a big giveaway. And then the person is walking through the aisles aimlessly. Of course, there are many shoppers who do that, but at least once in a while they are putting something in the cart. This person doesn't need a cart because the coat has many pockets. Cart you need because you're planning to pay for it. If you're not planning to pay for it, why do you need a cart? So much, work. First pretending to shop and putting things away. No, the thief doesn't have a lot of time. He has to be in and out, doesn't want to waste time. So whistling a tune, going through the aisles, looking to the left, looking to the right, not engaging other shoppers because they don't want to be remembered, having a baseball cap covering half the face. The visor is covering half the face so that nobody is wiser. That's why. And then the person just goes, helps themselves, puts it in these easy to access pockets. The pockets should not have zippers and should not be hard to find, but very easily to put it in. And then strolls out of the store without a care in the world, correct? Yeah. First they will look if there is any striped thing that will set off something at the door. If there is, that also has to be removed. For that they will go to the restroom or do something, I don't know what they will do. Why so much subterfuge? If you really think that you're doing the correct thing, walk in, walk out, take whatever you want, help yourself, and then if you're caught, tell them, this is my strategy, I'm an anarchist and I don't believe in all of you, I don't believe in down with the corporation, I'm a Marxist and long live Karl, and you do that. Do that. No, the person is chicken. Why? Because they know inside that this is not correct. And why? And even though they may be overtly only afraid of the jail and being arrested, they know this is wrong. And why go to such extents? Take the person who is a habitual liar, wants to lie all the time, lies their way out of every situation. Did you do this? No. Who did this? Like that. In a 2-year-old, it's cute. Yeah. Who did this? I don't know. Somebody else, the wind must have come and broken this. I didn't do this. But even the 2-year-old looks guilty. Yeah, mother has said, don't eat any more cookies. Mother goes out of the room, fellow is caught with the cookie, hand in the cookie jar. Because too small to know that if I leave the cookie, the hand will come out. It's the cookie that is holding it that is not coming out. Even then the child will go through some elaborate stories, like even baby Krishna did. They framed me. I did not eat the butter. They put butter on my mouth and hands and set me. They escaped while I was caught. In children it is cute. But the parents teach the children to outgrow this. Because otherwise there is always a conflict between the knower and the doer. There is a very important split. The knower knows I'm hiding something, I'm lying, I'm not acting in character, I'm not acting dharmically, I'm cheating, I'm defrauding. The knower knows, but the doer goes against the knower. This knower-doer split is a big block to this knowledge of the compassionate self, to this knowledge of non-duality, to this knowledge of oneness that is without a second, to this knowledge that puts an end to samsara in the form of fears and tears, which is what happens when one discovers the compassionate self. Already there is an inner split. Forget the outer duality. I am different from Jagat. Jagat is different from me. I am different from Ishvara. I am alienated. I am separate. Forget that. This inner alienation and separation becomes a very big block. And this Upanishad, every Upanishad stresses this, but this Upanishad has a specific truck with dharma right from the beginning. Right from the beginning. Yama's another name is Dharmaraja. Yeah, king of dharma. Why? Because he has to do with endings. Yeah. And the tradition promises that those who did not discover dharma right up to the end will know that when the ending comes. Because Dharmaraja is so called. The teacher in this Upanishad is called, is Dharma. Is Dharma embodiment. And he is so called because he is the minion, the lord of death, the deity that is in charge of the clearing house of various jivas. He harvests the jivas and surgically removes them from the bodies, extracts them from the bodies. And then what? And then, based on karma, It's a clearing house. It goes here, goes there. There are various little, trains that go tracks. Animal track, tree track, human track. Yeah. Heaven track, everything is tracked. Naraka track, everything is tracked. He just throws the jivas on various tracks. So you see, this Upanishad, by highlighting the teacher as the embodiment of dharma, as the one who is in charge of the repercussions, because dharma is connected to karma. How does one violate dharma? Not mentally, action, through action. So dharma and karma are what? They are two sides of the same coin. I enact dharma through my karma. That's what it is. Or I violate dharma how? Through my karma. That's why it's not a culpable offense to think of offing someone. You cannot go in jail. But if you have premeditated some kind of a mass murder and you have the intention to do it, how? Because you have gone and bought all these things to assemble a bomb in your basement. That becomes the evidence. Otherwise, if you just think, I wish the entire Jagat would be free of human beings except for me, it is not a culpable offense, because one is not in charge of one's thoughts. So therefore what? Therefore one has to understand this, that dharma and karma are together. And in this Upanishad, dharma is highlighted because without being dharmic, the teaching will not bless. And even though we have a huge list of requirements of what an ideal student is for this teaching, it is sometimes better to keep that long list for a later discussion, And in the beginning, like this Upanishad stress dharma. Why? Because the teachers who do that are very clever. Yeah. We see in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna discusses 20 things that one needs to imbibe this knowledge. Where? 13th chapter. First 12, 2/3 of the Gita is over. Amanitvam adambhitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasana sthairyam shaucham stairyam atma vinigrahah indriyartheshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityujara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam asaktiranabhishvangah putradaru grihadishu nityancha samachittattvam ishtanishtopapatishu मयि चानन्य योगेन भक्तिरव्यभिचारिणी विविक्तदेशसेवित्वम् अरतिर्जनसंसदि अध्यात्मज्ञाननित्यत्वं तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम् 20 qualities, attributes that the person must help themselves to have. Lack of ego, pride, lack of arrogance, accommodation, uprightness, non-injury to other beings, including oneself, not hurting others, not hurting oneself, not allowing oneself to be hurt. All that is there. Reverence for the teaching and the teacher, and a certain discipline centered on the self. Dispassion towards all the objects of love, addictive objects in the universe, sense objects. Ready to send the ego packing and a certain objectivity with regard to the changes that are taking place in the body mind sense complex, the ability to witness them. Growing out of desires, practicing non-involvement in situations, not taking things personally, by not taking everything personally. Everything is not directed at you. It's not all about you, you know. At least it's not all about the complaining you, the finite you. So, a certain objectivity with regard to things that belong to oneself, like house, spouse, mouse, etc. An equanimity at all times with regard to what comes. I'm able to take it in stride. When something comes that I like, okay, theek hai. When something comes that I don't like, all right. I don't have a big tantrum. Devotion in Bhagavan, unparalleled, unsurpassed devotion, reverence, to discover the truth of myself as the controller of the universe. From the standpoint of the jiva, I have to first discover myself as the devotee. The devotee surrenders to the object of the altar of devotion, and the altar of devotion alters the attitude of the devotee. This is what it is. It's the only way, really, because we live in a manifest universe of differences. A desire to find places for discovering oneself as contemplative, to make spaces without distraction, a desire to avoid crowds. A single-minded focus for discovering this truth as the truth of myself, and a perseverance to not, get going when the going gets tough. To be able to stay with it. This is what that staying power makes the difference between the discovery of oneself as the whole and the discovery of oneself as sometimes whole. That's all it is. Yeah. Because all too soon there are so many things that come in the way. Like I told you one time, I shared this. I asked, why were you not in class? What? I didn't feel like it. This is not about your feeling. I told that person, this is about your healing, not about feeling. You're healing the split inside and outside, mostly inside really, because the outside only affects because there is a big Grand Canyon inside. And one class is like a small band-aid. How can you band-aid the Grand Canyon? It feels good. Okay. The next class doesn't feel good because it says things as it is. I have to take it home and sit with it and process it and allow things to come up, heal them, because I told you this mother teaches you how to mother. You have to be the mother and you have to she teaches you how to embrace that inner child. You have to do that. You have to heal the adult-child split. All these things have to happen. It can't always look pretty, especially if we are talking about bridging the Grand Canyon. Not bridging, bringing it together. Yeah, tectonic plates inside the unconscious have to shift. And they spew forth hala hala, which is the original poison that came out when we have a beautiful allegories when the asuras and the devas Asuras means not very nice individuals, and the Devas means very dharmic beings, celestial beings and beings who, uncelestial beings. They got together because it was a concerted effort. They wanted the secret nectar of immortality, which they were told is at the bottom of the ocean. So you have to churn the ocean, kind of like how they are doing to find that missing plane, Yeah, you have to churn the ocean. They had to find a churning rod to churn the ocean. They plucked off a mountain. And then, we had to find the churning, rope. And one python, unsuspecting python was lying around. A divine python. They picked it up and, very poisonous fellow. And they wrapped him around the mountain. And the uncelestial ones, they wanted to be at the helm of everything. They want the head. I want to be at the head. Okay, you can have the head of the snake. Oh, thank you. But the head of the snake is not very nice because it hisses, it bites. Especially if it's wrapped 2 times around the mountain. It's not going to be compassionate, okay? Yeah. And the tail was also lashing out, but once in a while, So they churned. And to their surprise, all kinds of things came out. Things they were not expecting. So many things came out and all these things came out. But then the greatest surprise was before the nectar of immortality came out, this vicious poison called hala hala came out. And then it was worse than smog. It was worse than any kind of toxic substance, a noxious gas, which even if you come into contact with even for a second, puts you out. This was hala hala. And everybody had been already poisoned and bothered by the fumes of this poisonous snake hissing occasionally. And a lot of asuras were down and they had to be, revived with wet hankies. And then what? When this poison was released, the snake fainted. That was that was the power of this poison. The most poisonous snake fainted. Yeah. That had to be revived because they needed it to continue churning. Yeah, that needed CPR. This snake, which was poisoning and scaring everyone else. And what is that poison? It's all allegorical. What is that? Deep down is this bottom, in this bottomless ocean is this immortality. That is the compassion which came out in a pot. Yeah, that is the compassion. And that is what is called, that's why you have to dig deep. And there are many surprises along the way. Dig deep again within apostrophes. This is a knowledge of depth. Underneath the cracks, underneath the schisms and the internal, disappointments, everything that has fallen through the cracks will have to come out. Yeah. It's not a picnic. Oh, I'm studying Upanishad. This is a serious pursuit. This is not some kind of I'll just be entertained for an hour and come back. We make it entertaining. And that is the grace of the Guru, that makes the classes entertaining. Some other, this is all because of Pujya Swamiji, really. And you go to some other classes, I have gone. I have studied Upanishads in Sanskrit. And then, they are teaching the same thing. Don't think that they are teaching something else. And I can't even call them boring because they are all about knowledge. But it's not given in this particular way. It's a very serious affair. The teacher will not look to the left or to the right. The teacher will just read and then teach. It's a serious affair. And the teacher has so much, what the teacher does is very amazing. Because if you go to some serious places where they teach this knowledge in Sanskrit, the teacher does not care if people get up and go in drones. Let them get up. I'm not sitting here. The teacher will say, I'm not sitting here to entertain you. If you really have what it takes to come and study, sit in front of me. Otherwise, don't even come. This is what this thing is. Nothing wrong, but this is what I'm telling you. Yeah. So this is a serious pursuit wherein the interrogative person wondering where this compassion is lost when I'm not able to find it is the one who brings this jignasa, the desire to learn, to class, because this compassion is not manufactured through karma, even though it is manifest through karma. I cannot reach this compassion through action. Therefore, it is a cognitive pursuit. The one who has learnt it alone is welcome in those classes. The teacher says very clearly, if you are looking for jokes, and purposely sometimes the teachers will not make jokes, this is a way of weeding out, those who do not belong, let them go, because the teacher is not looking for followers. The teacher of Vedanta is not looking for followers. This is not a gimmickry, That the classes are fun is because of the grace of the teacher from whom I learnt. That is why it is so. No other reason. And so therefore, this healing of this schism before this whole immortality, the knowledge that I am unassailed by fears, tears, sorrow, terror, and terror of endings, that forever which I want to be forever happy, I want to be forever compassionate, forever accommodating, that forever that I want is of course in this deep well called ahankara or antahkarana, the inner instrument. And first what happens? The poison spews forth. Hala hala. That is what the poison, is there for, represents. And without Lord Shiva, that hala hala cannot be processed. That's why it's easy for him, as the story goes, he just says, I'll drink this. Because everybody runs away. And half of the people are dead on the spot. So what are you going to do? They don't survive this. And so he says, I'll drink it. So saying, he drinks it. And by his own magical power, Parvati, it stops him from becoming blue all over, because the poison is a numbing poison, very potent. So that's why he's only the throat is blue. The poison gets neutralized. First it gets confined, it's confined and neutralized, which gives us a clue as to how to deal with this unconscious. First you confine it, you objectify it, you confine it, you localize it, and then you surrender to Bhagavan, you surrender it to Bhagavan. Let Bhagavan take care of it. It's neutralized. So by these two methods, we also learn how to deal with the unconscious. But when the unconscious comes out, I ask for the grace to remain in the class, to remain interested, to remain with the teachings. And the unconscious is a serious matter. Don't think it will always come in the form of tears or it will always look a certain way. It can come in the form of back pain, because that's a legitimate excuse to not sit in class. It can come in the form of fever, samsara fever. Yeah, it can come in so many ways. You have to be kind to yourself. That is where the compassion starts. You have to be kind to yourself and relentless to your patterns. This is what one has to do to be, accommodate the being. Do not be accommodative to all the ragadveshas and the patterns of behavior. So even though there are so many qualifications to process this unconscious, to be classified as a student, and all those which we listed, we can go into each of them in detail. That will itself take away several sessions. Or we can see what is hinging on all those qualifications. It is dharma. if you reduce all those qualifications to their, basic form, it is dharma. And this ability to have what it takes to follow a righteous life, to reduce rebelliousness, especially where it's not needed. Choose your battles. This general anarchistic rebelliousness, even though it may look good, is just a big headache. It's a big headache. It's a liability. Reduce that. And that's why one needs worship. That's why one needs a place where I can come to terms with my rebellion. Because this rebellion is actually directed at the original caregivers, mother or father, or sometimes both. Authority figures in my life who did not fail to disappoint. Yeah. Who were very obliging and accommodative when it came to disappointment. Yeah, they accommodated completely. Fallen promises, broken hopes, unfulfilled dreams. This is what the stuff of the unconscious. This is what childhood is made up of. A series of broken dreams, unfulfilled promises, unavailable caregivers, inconsistent caregivers. I love you, but be careful, This is what is the raw material of the unconscious, of every unconscious. Maybe the recipe varies slightly, yeah. Because the recipe has gone through various titrations based on the jiva's lot, on karma, on prarabdha. But really, this is what is the makeup of all, Like you can make so many things. You can, with dal and rice, you can mix it together and call it khichdi. And then you can make it slightly fancy and add some, masala in it and some vegetables. And sometimes you add a different kind of dal and a different kind of rice, still it is khichdi, correct? Or then you can go through the lengths of soaking the dal and the rice and then grinding it out of existence, letting it ferment and then making a crepe out of it. It's still the same thing. Yeah. Rice and dal and rice. That's all it is. These are the building bricks of everyday food. This is also the building bricks that has fed the unconscious. Not dal and rice, but the individual, what should I say? The broken dreams and hopes, that is what is by the caregivers. That's what, because that's all the person knows. The child thinks mother is God, father is God. And it has to discover the mother and the father of the universe. It has to discover the infallible as the mother and the father of the universe. So making peace with what is, even with a certain force, is one of the greatest building blocks for this dharma. And dharma itself is a building block for discovering the student within. Discovering the student within. So that is the first thing one needs to study. I said we need one or two things. What's the second thing? The second thing is to see the connection between the end that I am seeking and the means deployed. Here, what is the end?
Moksha.
What is moksha?
Freedom from fears and insecurities.
Freedom from fears and insecurities. Okay. So is that to be gained or is it already gained? It is already gained. So this is what I have to see, is that if we are talking of moksha, moksha is discovering the compassionate self. That's what compassionate self is moksha. Just like we have various definitions of samsara, or rather the same samsara is defined from various standpoints. Here moksha is also defined from various standpoints, because otherwise it becomes a it becomes routinized in the mind, which is what we are trying to avoid. Again, the marvels of studying with a teacher like Pujya Swamiji. This is one of the blessings. So what is the thing? What is moksha? The compassionate self. Because we are now building this now. We started with mother and compassion, the embrace of compassion which helps me to discover myself as a compassionate being. So moksha is equal to compassionate self. Moksha is equal to discovery of that I as the all compassionate, all accommodative self. Correct? So compassion cannot be manufactured, even though I'm feeling I'm manufacturing it. It's just faking it in order to make it. That's all it is. Compassion already is there. I told you it's unconditional. It is there because the capacity for it is already there. So we are talking of uneclipsing a capacity for compassion, and that capacity cannot be there without the compassion being there. So therefore, if that is the end, what are the means? I should go to Kashi. Kashi is a holy place in India. Varanasi, I should sit. Correct? People go to Kashi to get moksha. Did you not know that? Yeah. There is a belief in the Hindu tradition that if you die in Kashi, then you will gain moksha. They don't understand moksha. They think moksha means, heaven at best. I don't know what else they think, but at least I think most of them think it's heaven. Some place where you will not be reborn. That they know that, but they translate that to heaven. But heaven is not a place where you will not be reborn. If you go to heaven, definitely you will come back. Yeah, for sure. So therefore, a lot of elderly people, especially single people, meaning the partner has died away, spouse is no longer there, single elderly men and women, they go to Kashi because they want to die there. Of course, Lord Yama has the last laugh. He says, wait. And this one person I knew went and stayed in Kashi for 22 years. Yeah. And then the grandchildren called, great-grandchild is going to be born. Please, Amma, come bless us and we'll do this wonderful ceremony where you hold the great-grandchild and you're bathed in gold because it's 4 generations. Yeah, they do that. They honor the whole lineage of people. Great-grandmother, grandmother, grandchild, great-grandchild. Great-grandchild is held in the lap and they have this ceremonial bath with gold coins, So come, of course she cannot resist. And she goes, and then what? 3 days later gone, but not in Kashi. After waiting for 22 years. So how do you get moksha? Not by going to Kashi, because you cannot sort of say that I'm going to die in Kashi. Lord Yama has the last laugh. Sometimes he takes the person on the way to Kashi. Sometimes he takes the person as soon as you have crossed the, sign that says goodbye, you are leaving Kashi. Okay, real goodbye. Then the final goodbye comes then. So, therefore what? Kashi is not moksha. Yeah, even though people think that. So where do I have to go to get moksha? Where do I have to go? Nowhere. Because why? I am that which I seek. This is the second thing, this is the second block. I mean it, pun intended. This is the second block for either coming or not coming to this knowledge. Yes. If it is seen as a building block, you will come to the knowledge. If it is seen as the other kind of block, you will go away from this teaching. You have to see, you have to engage with what is at hand here. And what is at hand is that I am trying to discover what I already am. It is not a thing to be manufactured. In other words, it is not away from me. It's not away from me. It is myself alone. I have to see that. And this myself is eclipsed. Certain parts of me, or actually the whole, which I say is me, which I want to discover is eclipsed by certain parts that seem to come and go. That whole is discovered despite the parts. That's what it is. In spite of the parts. The parts do not eclipse the whole, cannot eclipse the whole, because the whole is impartite. What can the parts do to the whole? Nothing. This is what has to be understood. So therefore, this discovery is a process more of letting go rather than collecting. You're not collecting the knowledge by coming here. You're letting go of the blocks, the locks, and all kinds of resistances that come in the way of the compassionate self. So this is more of an uncovering, a constant unlayering, not like an onion. Because when you peel the onion, what do you find? Nothing. This is not like that. This is to discover that very thing because of which all things are worth being called things. Vastu, as yourself. So therefore, I have to see this, I have to engage with this in the way that it is intended. Sadhana sadhya sambandha. The connection between the ends and the means. What is the end? Me. Oh. The end. No. If the end is me, what are the means? Are the means outside of me? No. And therefore, if the end is me, can I manufacture this me? No. Which me are we talking about? Are we talking about a me that I see when I stand in front of the mirror? Or are we talking about a me that I discover on the couch of the psychologist? Physical me, mental me? Am I talking about the me that is in relation to, that is evoked in relation to certain contact with certain other objects? No, I'm talking of that me, which is the witness of all of this, Sakshi. The one who is without needing to be propped up by anything else. The one who always answers yes to the question, are you here? Yes?
Yes.
Very interesting. Are you here can never be answered no. And are you asleep can never be answered yes. Fascinating. Because if somebody says, yes, I am asleep, that means what? No, they are not asleep, they are lying. And if supposing somebody says, no, I am not here, what does it mean? Yes, they are here. Yes. How do you know it's yes? Why not say no? Because I cannot say no when the answer is yes. I am here. Now are you here? Yes. What about now? Yes. 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 Now. Am. I. Now. That is the Sakshi, the witness. On this I now is piled a whole lot of superimposed nonsense. And since this now is endlessly compassionate, it accommodates even the wrong information. Yeah. So the locus of the superimposition is free of the very thing which is superimposed upon it. Like what? Like even the rope. On the rope, what is superimposed?
Snake.
Snake. Yeah, what else can we say? Does the rope become slimy like the snake? Does the rope become scaly? Does the rope develop fangs? Does the rope become poisonous to touch if it bites? So the snake dharmas, here dharma means attributes, the snake dharma does not even touch the rope. The rope, which is the locus of the superimposed snake, is free of the sliminess, the desire to eat its own eggs, and everything which is snake dharma does not afflict the rope. Correct? So the rope we call the locus, adhisthana, and then the snake, that which is superimposed, that superimposition in Sanskrit is called adhyasa. So there can be no adhyasa without adhisthana. I saw a snake. Where? That is the first question, correct? If somebody says, I saw a snake, you don't say, oh, how nice. You say, where? You don't say, oh, how wonderful. May that long continue. May you keep on seeing snakes. Nobody says that. What is the first question? Where? Anything scary if you saw. Where? Where? Because the locus is important. Because first is the person who's hearing wants to make sure that I'm not standing right next to it. Where? It's all in self-interest. I saw a gold coin. Oh, where? Do tell. Where? There is a sale. Half off of everything. Where? Not in the air. In a shop. The gold coin is actually a chocolate covered in gold. That's that kind of coin. We gave out those last time. So, like that, which you give out to children. You can buy bags of it for $1 at the shop. Oh, disappointment. Eek, snake. Ah, thank God. Rope, a relief. So this is the basis for this knowledge. Is that it is that I that is never ending, always the same. I now free am from samsara. You can keep saying that, and it is really true. I free, I compassionate, I now. This is all becomes stuff for rumination, contemplation. I now am. And what are you saying when you say I now am? I can never come to an end. I is self-revealing. That's what you're saying. I is forever in the now. And that which is forever in the now is truly forever. And that which is forever now is truly endless. And that forever is free of sorrow. But why can't I be forever sad? What will you say to such a person? You can. But you don't want to be forever sad, correct? You reject that very thought. That's why you're taking Prozac. If you wanted to be forever sad, you wouldn't be taking Prozac. Nobody can tolerate depression. Nobody can tolerate anger, fear. This is the basis, this is the experiential basis to understand something which is called apata jnanam, a kind of a accidental knowledge that resonates with the truth of oneself. And this accidental knowledge is a blessing of one's own experiential reality. So therefore what? Therefore I have to see this, I have to understand this, I have to see this totally. That I is the locus for a number of superimpositions, both good and bad. And the I therefore has to be free of all the superimpositions which are attributed to this I. Just like the rope is free of the sliminess and the scaliness and the poisonousness, the venom of the snake. even though the snake is frequently seen on this. And without the knowledge of the locus, you cannot have moksha, because the locus is that which is free of everything, and that free of everything is called moksha. And that, what you called it compassion, because I have to tell you that that freedom is manifest in the form of compassion, because I know that your next question is going to be, what does that freedom look like? How to experience it? This is what it looks like. The dynamic form of limitlessness is compassion. The dynamic expression of limitlessness is compassion. Moksha is that freeness, that limitlessness. So this I have to discover. So the knowledge is removing the snakes from the rope. And boy, there are many snakes. Yeah. Snake of doubt, snake of despair, snake of hopelessness, helplessness, helplessness. What else? You know? Snake of I am just this and not that. Snake of I am as good as the body. Snake of I am assailed by my mind. Snake of never mind the mind. Snake of this, snake of that. So many snakes. So little time. Yeah. You know, there is a tribe of people in India. They are traditionally snake catchers. They alone can catch it live. And they do some things with it. Like sometimes they keep it in a confined place and wait till it sloughs off and then sell the skin. You know, and sometimes they raise snakes. They have a snake farm. And then sometimes what they do is they milk the venom out of the glands and sell it for research, because they're doing a lot of research on antidote for snake venom. Irula is the name of the tribe. So they have a little hook and they have a very interesting art of cajoling the snake either into a basket or more frequently into a gunny bag, you know, a hemp sack, into a gunny bag. And they do it so quickly that it's all, you just have to, you wish you could play the whole video in slow motion. So the stick with a hook on it, they hook it on to the snake's tail at first. And naturally, if someone catches hold of your tail, you look behind. So does the snake. It looks behind and tries to wrap itself on the stick, which is what they want. And then they put it in the gunny bag. And the shock, they take the whole stick and put it in the gunny bag. And the shock of finding itself in an difficult situation, then it thinks that the stick is its friend. It wraps itself around the stick. And then it lets go of the stick and tries to strike the stick, at which point they remove the stick and tie the mouth of the gunny bag with a string or a small twine, thick twine. And then they just drag it, they lift it somehow. And then you see the snake dancing inside the gunny bag, safe. It cannot bite through because it's very, tough. Sometimes they double bag it and it's porous enough so it can breathe. It's not in any danger. And they carry it out. Yes. So if it's a real snake, we can deploy some of the members of the Irula tribe and say, please bring your stick with a hook and a gunny bag to put all these notions, in the bag. Yeah. So the Upanishad is a very superior snake charmer. She charms the snakes that are not there. Yeah, that takes a lot of finesse. Why? Because this person is convinced there is a snake and convinced that I have been bitten by this snake. Where is the bite? They examine the body, no bite. Then of course you ask the next question, where is the snake? And they point to the rope confidently. See, it has 3 bends. This is a Tribhangi snake. And look, this is what has bitten me. And the person is in panic, anxiety, fear, despair. And at that point, if you say this is not a snake, it's not going to help them. You have to show them the adhisthana, on which they saw the snake and they imagined that the snake bit them. You have to show the adhisthana for what it is. Look, idiot, it's a rope. That's why another word for superimposition in the Sanskrit language is aropaha. Yes, rope. Yeah. The sages knew that one day the English language would borrow the word rope from this, so that's why they called it aropaha. Yeah, they were seers. This is superimposition. So that which I saw on the rope is aropa, that's why it's called rope. Asamantat ropaha, aropa. It's just a rope. But you tell this person who is ajnana sarpadashtaha, bitten by the snake of ignorance, you tell this person this is not a snake, they are not ready to listen to you. So first you have to say, I have the remedy. Here is the antidote. Drink this. You have to go through the motions. Correct? Drink this. Oh, really? This will help the snake bite? Already the legs have started to go numb. Yes, yes, drink this. Glug, glug, glug. Okay, then what? Sit down, Yeah, but. Yes, I'm going to give you the antivenom. Yeah. And then after the person's breathing has normalized, because first you hand them a paper bag and then they breathe into the paper bag and the carbon dioxide, makes the breath a little less panicked. Yeah, the best thing for panic is a paper bag. Yeah, not plastic bag, okay? Yeah. So, then what? After the person has calmed down, just say, let us both go, you and I, hand in hand, and let us look at this snake together. No! I'm scared! No! I'm here with you. Let us look at this snake. And we'll say, bad snake, how dare you bite? This is what the mother does to the 2-year-old in India. The 2-year-old runs somewhere, falls down, and the mother hits the floor. Bad floor, you hit my baby. You made my baby fall. Bad floor. And the child sits and claps through the tears. This is what the teaching is doing. That's why I said it's the best kind of mothering. Come, we'll just go beat the snake. Beat the daylights of the snake. How dare it bite you? Let me show you the snake. I'm going with you. Then even while walking, the person is motivated to walk because, this is a snake, still a snake, and I'm going to look at it, I'm going to become courageous. Still the ahankara, the I notion is being engaged as a victim of the snake bite. And then you put a poultice, you put a tourniquet and then take the person. And then what? And then slowly after they have regained their composure, you know what? Is this really a snake? Look. Oh, you're right. It has lightened in color since it appears to have lightened in color since I last set eyes on it. Yeah, see? No, but I'm still not going close. I'm not touching it. What if it bites again? Well, I'll touch it. You just... No, I don't want it to bite you. No, it doesn't matter. I'll touch it with a stick and let's see if it moves. No, that just means it's dead. It doesn't matter. Let's see if it moves. It didn't move. And then what? Then you touch it, you pick it up. Whoa! Just look. Look from far. Actually, it's got some kind of a akara of the rope, not the snake. And then that is when here the person who is opening or uncovering the aropa of the rope has to show and say, this is not snake. What is this? Rope. Oh, really? Can I touch it? Yes. Oh, it's just a rope. Yes, it's just a rope. Oh, look at that. Now the person being in touch with the locus is not affected by the non-existent superimposition. After touching the rope, If all has gone well with the teaching, this teaching, the person doesn't have to wash the hands with antiseptic. Correct? Yeah. Or doesn't feel slimy. Because the person is in touch with the adhisthana, the locus, the aropa does not bother anymore. The adhyasa, the superimposition, has been falsified. Now the very important question is, where did the snake go? Where did it go? It went off in the bushes? Huh?
It's never there.
Ah, it retreated from where it had come, which is one's own misimagination, misidentification. It crawled back to that same place from where it had been projected. Where had it been projected from? In the mind. From the mind, the powerful projection came. And it just got dissolved in that mind itself. Not a little fang of it you will get to see. Not a little, not even, it has not even left a slither mark anywhere. It has gone without a trace, it has disappeared. Why? Because it was a creation of my memory and my desire. Yeah. It was a creation, it was crafted with fears and tears. And fears and tears both not belonging to the locus were falsified. And the snake that is made of the fears and tears, like the emperor's clothes, was gone. This is what the knowledge is. So the Upanishad does all kinds of things. First, she sees you to see the snake, to have darshan of the snake, and to then falsify the snake, and to show that sometimes the Upanishad waxes eloquent about the nature of the rope, so that we recognize the truth of the rope as myself, as the sitting duck for all aropa. I have to see that truth. And I have to falsify the misinformation, the misidentification here. I am as good as this snake of doubt and fear. I am as good as my fears and tears. All this has to happen. And it is a process. That's why the perseverance is needed. So the first thing is bringing the studentship in the form of a love to cultivate dharma and to be committed to cultivating dharma. And the second thing that we discussed is seeing that the seeker and the sought are one, and therefore this is a cognitive pursuit. Discovering the rope, I don't have to go on a pilgrimage. The rope is right there, exactly where the snake was. You cannot say that the rope was underneath the snake, lying parallel next to the snake. No, in fact there is only one thing which I have misnamed as the snake. And that is a matter of correction. So here it is a matter of correcting my identity from the hopeless, hapless individual called the jiva to seeing that I am the adhisthana, the locus of the entire universe of names and forms. It's not a small thing, and it's not for the faint-hearted. Yes, it's not. It requires a certain perseverance, and it requires viveka, the ability to see this and to desist from being distracted by other pursuits that may promise this moksha. You can breathe your way through moksha. You can die and go to moksha. You can be alive and give me money and then be free. Why? You have moksha from your money. This is what a lot of things go by. So not to be bamboozled by all these methods, because really speaking, when there is a misunderstanding, the only method of correction is cognitive. So we are talking of a misunderstanding. We are not talking of gaining something that is away from me. We are talking of looking at something that is myself, which I have not been able to look at because it has been covered by the snakes of grief and fear. That is the second thing. What is the third thing? The third thing is that in order to understand the truth of myself, I need a means of knowledge, which we will discuss when? Tomorrow. 8 o'clock. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadagya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.